What's up, bro? So I woke up this morning, did my 150 push-ups, my 20-minute meditation, which is my morning routine, and then after that, I got dressed.
And you know what this outfit reminded me of? It's just a simple hoodie, sweatpants, and it's done. It reminded me of when I used to go to school, and I find it quite funny. I was just thinking to myself that when we go to school, we're willing to dress up for our teachers and for our bosses and for the people that tell us what to do. And so am I. But then I realized that it was only last year that I started dressing up and really putting on clothes and doing the basic necessities for my own craft and for myself. We respect the people that tell us what to do, but we cannot give ourselves the same amount of respect.
It's quite funny that even I know a lot of people that not only don't dress up with them for themselves, but we were fortunate enough, most of us, to have parents or a parent that could at least distill down to us the basic fundamental necessities of life, such as sleeping on time, eating on time, and trying your best, which would allow you to find purpose and really pursue whatever it is that you aim to go do with your life. And yet, as we grow up and get older and older, we tend to lose that aspect of even not only sleeping on time and like eating on time and like all the rules of life that are meant to keep us free, because discipline actually equals freedom, but then we also lose this aspect of actually trying our best in life. I remember when I was a kid, a lot of the people in my classes were not scared to raise their arm when they knew the answer to every single question that the teacher asked. They would just, without any hesitation, just raise their arm. Raising their arm would be the symbol of the fact that they're actually trying their best. However, nowadays, as we get judged, as we grow older, and also like social media is probably playing a role in it, we all forgot how to actually genuinely try our best. When's the last time you actually sat down and tried your best? And to really put it into the correct frame, let's say last time you maybe did a test for like some class or some exam that you did, or the last time, well, when's the last time you really sat down and focused for like 4 hours straight? Like, that is what is trying your best, like really giving it your all. I remember watching this video, which was this black gentleman giving the speech who was probably in high school. He was giving like a valedictorian speech, and he told everybody to raise their hand as high as they could. And then 3 or 4 times he told them to raise their arm higher and higher. And by the end of that, there was probably only 5 people in a frame of 100 people that were actually raising their hand or their arm as high as they possibly could, which is, I guess, a symbol of the fact that we don't actually try our best anymore. And I think I can really draw that parallel over to in the business world, like how that's really going to impact my life. Ever since I finished my university year, I basically barely even have a business now, and I need to really come to that conclusion, come to that realization, which is going to allow me to acknowledge my current position and the pain associated with it in order to improve up to where I want to go. Back in the day, I used to play a lot of chess, and there was huge scandals about cheating in chess, especially when people would use chess robots to be able to cheat. But one of the reasons why the chess robot was so powerful is not only because it plays the perfect move every single time objectively, but also because it doesn't feel the human attachments to whatever their work are. Fundamentally, when we acknowledge our current position, the types of pains that we feel that can either deter us away from our goals, or for some people even bring us closer to our goals, are this aspect of comparison with other people, this dilemma of whether or not we actually have control over ourselves, because we tell ourselves that we're going to do things and then we don't actually end up doing those things. And then there's also this aspect of past regrets about, I had so much time in the past and I didn't actually do what I wanted to do in order to get me closer to my goals. But the computer doesn't have these aspects. And so there have been so many times in the game of chess in which somebody has been in a completely dead lost position, in which no conceivable logical human and can even come up with any possible way or sequence of moves or lines of reasoning in which the player that they're watching can win, meaning that they're in a dead lost position, right? And so this person, when they start cheating, or if they are to start using a chess robot, that person can come back and within a sequence of moves, like let's say 5 moves to 10 moves, it still looks as if their position is logically losing. But the computer just completely ignores that, and regardless of what its position is, it plays the best possible perfect move in order to move it forward and to allow the game to progress regardless of what the outcome is, just so that it can at least live out the game. And then after maybe 20 moves, we notice a trend, which is the completely losing position goes from completely losing to just a little bit losing, and then it eventually ends up winning, even though that was something that was conceivably impossible to the human mind. And so when we acknowledge that regardless of the position that you are in, making the right move in your life can allow you to get to where you want to go, with that acknowledgement, we can do insane things. I've stressed the importance of the fact, and I mentioned the fact that I want to build a brand. But more specifically, I mentioned some volume that is required for this brand. So one of the main things that I'm going for, I mentioned on Instagram, I want it to be mainly focused on the conversion side of things and the business side of things. And more specifically, I want to be posting 3 times a day. Now, regardless of where that number came in from, I saw it, like, I envisioned that happening a long time ago. And I think if I do end up posting 3 times a day, then the question is not about the actual quantity, but instead it is about the quality. So if I can get high quality content, and that's something I'll define later on, posting 3 times a day, I don't think that's something that's really been done highly efficiently I haven't seen anyone in my space being able to do that. And I think if I can do it, then that will, once again, which I spoke about the other day, put so much distance between me and the rest of the industry that I will actually have some credible aspect that I can cling on to whenever somebody questions my legitimacy. Now, coming back to this concept of making incremental steps in order to allow us to win eventually, there's this aspect of acknowledgement that we are in a meritocracy. Now, regardless of whether or not you actually believe that we're in a meritocracy is completely irrelevant to this, because the things that are outside of your control are fundamentally outside of your control. And so therefore, when you judge yourself, there's no reason to actually account for those things regardless of whether they're real or not. Because when we see ourselves based on the inputs that we actually control, the controllables. Once we judge ourselves based on the controllables and how we actually fulfill them, we begin to understand the fullest picture of our internal self, and the gifts that we are truly given are acknowledged to be on the internal versus the external. The cards that you were dealt and how fortunate you were is not something that's inside your control, and therefore it's not something that you should not only use to judge other people, but it's not something you should use to judge yourself either. Because one, it will save you from all the trauma and all the comparison that results because of you comparing your lives to other people. But if you judge yourself based on your input, then you will begin to see how you are better than your competition in more ways than you could have possibly imagined. Not ways that are outside of you, but ways that are inside of your very own head. You might be able to talk better. You might be able to walk better, think better, speak better. Maybe because you are better. And that's not some narcissistic thing that you must attach yourself to and it manifests itself in bad ways and you just act like a bad person to other people. No, it's something that you use to understand the reasoning behind how you act. And here's exactly what I mean by this. Now, your competition, and I always use Kylie Jenner as an example for this, or at least right now I've come up with that example, which is that Kylie Jenner became a billionaire at 21, but most often what people ignore is that her parents put a camera in front of her at 9. Now, a lot of people might allot her success to her parents and say that, oh, it was the cards that she was dealt which led her to being successful. But because you don't judge yourself based on that, and we're assuming this shadow or this overtone of merit to the whole situation, I think it is only fair for both you and for her for you to judge her based on her merit and the actual actionable steps that she took all the way from 9 to 21 years old, which actually led to her being a billionaire. And the answer to that question is she could have just been like any other kid when her parents put that camera in front of her at 9 years old, but she wasn't. And that fundamentally, that tunnel vision focus in that one entertainment industry or whatever the hell she does, led her to becoming a billionaire at 21. Now, when it comes to this aspect of her comparison between you and also whoever your competition is, she's probably good at understanding her market. She's probably good at marketing and like understanding her audience. She probably understands her products very well. But logistics and almost a large quantity of things that there are in business are completely outsourced by her. And so that acknowledgement that she outsources things allows you to see that there are parts that or parts of the equation that you have that your competition does not have. Meaning, she did the things that were in her mind, and you can assess that based off of the actual actionable things that she did, which is be in front of the camera. Now, a lot of people aren't in front of the camera for 12 years before, or aren't streamlined in one career for 12 years before they choose to judge her or whatever her situation is. But if you do end up looking at anyone's situation solely based on the merit of their actions or the actual inputs that they put in, then I would believe that not only is that beneficial for your own heart, because you're going to notice that you're not judging people in malicious ways, but you're also going to progress way further in your life because you're going to assume the actionable, you're going to understand the actual things that they did to get them from where they are to where like their desirable position is, right? So you're going to understand how they actually made their, like, got across their journey. And maybe someone's journey is shorter just because of the external variables that they were given. However, if you just judge them based on the sheer action and completely exclude the externalities from their situation, then it will most definitely make you a bigger human being. Now, Kylie Jenner aside, I think a lot of us have gifts that we rarely ever acknowledge. I mean, I don't even think that a certain gift or talent is actually required to even succeed, and neither is any externality. And here's exactly what I mean by this. The only hidden variable to success, and it is real, there is a hidden variable to success that absolutely nobody knows about. And the answer to that, or rather everybody knows about it, because it's just hard work or merit. And it's the boring, mundane things that get you from point A to point B. And the best example of this is Mr. Beast. He said it himself, or I think some of the people that used to work for him said it as well, that he absolutely sucks at filmmaking. He absolutely sucks. And you might say, oh wait, what are you talking about? Like, Mr. Beast does not suck, how can he suck? But the truth is, bro, Mr. Beast is trash at so many of the required skills. He doesn't have a good personality, and that he acknowledges those things. He acknowledges that he's not funny. And so he says, I just hire funny people instead. He understands the algorithm better than anybody. So regardless of his personality and the cards that he was dealt, he didn't choose to constrain himself to that. Instead, he understood the algorithm very well, and he just absolutely hired people, and then he outworked absolutely everybody. So he just understood the algorithm and outworked everybody. So Mr. Beast didn't take time to dwell over the fact that he's not funny or he doesn't have the most desirable personality in the world. Instead, he went out there and outworked every single person and understood the algorithm better than anybody. That is pure, raw, brute force and understanding how to bring his will into reality. And if I want to do anything with my life, I don't know about you, but that is most definitely the energy that I'm going to need to have. And that's exactly the lesson, not only that I have top of mind right now, because if I don't encompass that in every single aspect of my life, then I'm most definitely not going to be able to do exactly what it is that I want to do. Another thing right before I end the vlog for today, because I'm not going to try to just film myself doing everything such as working, because that's not only pretty boring for you, but it's not actually anything that's going to help you be productive, in the sense that like this is not a study with me channel, right? So yeah, I'm not doing that tonight. It is absolutely undeniable that how you do one thing is how you do absolutely everything. Now, obviously, in the short term, this principle does not hold up, but within a long term, the way you make your bed, or the consistency of the times that you actually do make your bed or do the things that you say you're going to do, is what ends up making who you are, because people are what they do. And so Hormozy has this concept, which is like, don't waste time in the morning. So people are talking about their morning routines. They're doing cold showers. They're like meditating and doing a bunch of BS that like doesn't actually help them sit down and be productive. However, if you have decided that you want to put your mind to, based on some objective principles, like you decide that meditation actually logically makes you better, like in the sense that it literally improves all your KPIs or whatever data you're tracking for yourself, it actually improves you as a person, then there should be no reason as to why you don't continue to do that very thing that you said you would do from day one. And these small incremental things is exactly what I'm talking about, because every move must be factored into the overarching snowball that ends up leading you into the success that you have. I think there's called like the law of accumulation. Like every small thing, even if it's as small as making your bed, is going to lead you up to being successful. And as cliche or strange as that sounds, it is 100% true, because the way you actually end up carrying yourself over a long term is going to have a ripple effect. And there's so many examples of this. If you miss a night of sleep, then the next night you might sleep longer. And whether or not that's a myth, like whether or not sleep debt is actually real, I think there's many studies actually proving that it is real. But regardless, you get the point. You cannot take shortcuts in this trip. Overall, my message, always saying, you feel me? Just get to work. Peace.